Oh hi. So a while ago I did a YouTube short which answered the question, would I choose to keep my illnesses if I could because they made me who I am? And I got a comment that said something like, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. And my first instinct was, that's my thoughts. In the video I said no, I wouldn't keep my illnesses for anything. But after that person asked to hear my thoughts, I thought about it more and I thought, yeah, I do have some thoughts, and so that is what this video is. So to cut to the chase, even my long form answer probably is going to veer towards me not choosing to keep my illnesses. For one, physically, they are just unbearable for me. And I know a lot of people with disabilities live good lives and full lives, and a lot of people with illnesses live really good and full lives, and many people wouldn't change that. But for me, my symptoms, I endure so much suffering and distress from this that I would get rid of it based on that alone. But that is a very basic answer, and I know that this question goes a lot deeper because a lot of people with illnesses have friends in the community, as do I. A lot of my friends are actually people that have health conditions of some kind, not necessarily the same ones, but I have met some of the most amazing people through this. And so I have thought to myself in the past, would I keep my illnesses given the choice, because then I could keep all the friends I've made? And it sounds really horrible to say, but I kind of think I still wouldn't. I still think I would get rid of the illnesses. And that's nothing against the friends I have now. That's purely on the basis that my whole life I have had friends. So if I didn't get on well, I'm confident that I still would have made friends. And I know they would have been a different group of friends. But because I really love talking to people and I love people, for that reason, I think I would have made friends who I'd got on with either way. And it sounds really horrible to say, like, oh my god, you'd get rid of your friend you have now because you can't imagine life without them. But on the basis of the trajectory of my life and how I have had friends at every stage of my life, I think I would have I feel awful saying this, but I just think I would have had friends anyway. So purely on the basis that I think I would have continued to have friends that were just as great, I think I would choose to not have the illnesses. Now, the amazing thing about this hypothetical question is that this isn't going to happen. I'm not going to, I can't get rid of my illnesses and I don't have to lose my friends. And I know that this kind of thinking, a few people had said in the comments, they don't like to go there, they don't even like to think about it. And I see what they mean, because it is, even for me, I can make the decision, but it's a hard one. It feels like an impossible decision, because it feels like if you give an answer like I have, I feel guilty now that I've said that about my friends. I feel like I'm giving up my friends, when in reality it's just a question. One thing I was thinking about was that my illnesses have made it very, very easy to show me people that aren't the most empathetic, because I've lost people in my life, or there's people in my life who just aren't good to me, and my illnesses have brought to light people who aren't as empathetic as others, and I think I would have always found this out, but I think it would have taken a lot longer, and that is something that I'm very grateful that the illness has naturally done, has shown me who is a empathetic, understanding person. I do think the illnesses are really good for that, and I think it puts people who have illnesses like these in quite a good position. And I know it doesn't feel like it, especially when we lose people or when people hurt us, but actually I'd rather be hurt and know about it rather than it be this muddled, not sure. Sometimes you can feel like something's off about someone, but you're not sure. There may be no way to find out, whereas with these illnesses, it's made everything a lot clearer, and it's just kind of this known thing in the community. People always say that having an illness has weeded out some of those people in their life that actually were not the most empathetic people and who they didn't want to be friends with anyway. And then something I wondered about for a long time was that I have always wondered if I would be as empathetic towards others had I not been ill, because a lot of people say I'm glad I've got my illnesses because they've made me more understanding, more empathetic, more compassionate and stuff like that. And I've always thought to myself, I don't think I needed the illnesses to make me empathetic and stuff like that. But I had no way of knowing whether my illnesses have made me more empathetic or understanding or anything like that until it was a year or two ago. I got a message and the person said, "Hi Georgina, not entirely sure where to start. You likely don't remember me, but I sat next to you at school." They go on to say they have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and then at the end she said, "Although it wasn't for very long, you were always super kind and lovely to talk to from the interactions we did have with one another." And I said back, "Oh my goodness, hi, I think I do remember you. Did you have time off school or something like that? And then afterwards got really good grades. I briefly remember congratulating someone for something like that, and I think it might have been you." Then I went on to say that I had just started getting unwell, so my memories were a bit of a blur. But I said, "But this memory did stick with me as I felt really proud of that person. And again, I think it might have been you." And then the rest of the message. But I remember being so proud of this person that it became a core memory. Like how proud I was of that person became a core memory. They told me everything they had endured with their illnesses, and mainly not even symptoms so much, but they told me how much time they had off school. And I remember just being like, oh my goodness, like that is so good. Like I was just kind of like in awe of, sorry I got cut off, I don't know where that was, but I was saying I was so insanely proud of this person, and I understood how difficult it would have been for them to do it. And it's the sort of thing that, you know, they would have had to work so much harder to do what most people were taking for granted. And I remember thinking, like, even the fact that you're sitting in this classroom now is amazing, and I know how much that takes for you to be here. And based on that, I can say that I was understanding and empathetic before I got these illnesses. So again, for me, I know that illnesses have made me who I am to some extent, but I think first and foremost, I have made myself who I am, and I think I just am who I am. I don't think I've changed immensely. One thing I am now is a lot more patient. Yeah, I am more patient than I was before in a lot of aspects, but in terms of being more like I'm empathetic, I don't think it's really changed so much. Another thing people talk about is gratitude. They say now that they're unwell, they have so much more gratitude. This is another one that I think I was a really grateful person even before, and I can give you some like examples of this. One I was thinking of but didn't say is that it's actually much to my detriment. I used to look around my room, like just randomly sometimes, and see everything in it, and I used to feel so guilty that there were people in the world starving when I had seemingly so much. I remember I had this shelf which had 20 nail varnishes on it, and I thought, why the heck have I got 20 nail varnishes when there are people in the world like dying of hunger and poverty? And I didn't have much, like I had the nail varnishes, but I didn't have much. But this is what I mean, like being grateful, if it goes too far, it's actually to your detriment, and that those thoughts weren't helpful for me to have. I couldn't help it. But yeah. One was that I did used to watch documentaries of people with illnesses. I always remember this teenager had an illness where she could fall into a sleep for like a few weeks at a time and couldn't be woken up, and then she would live a normal life for a few weeks or months, and then she would enter this like comatose sleep state for a few weeks. And I remember thinking to myself, my heart goes out to her, and also I'm so grateful that I didn't have it. And I just really was grateful for my health even before that. I think I'm a lot more aware now of invisible illnesses and disabilities, but I have always been grateful for my health, I think. In terms of celebrating small wins, I feel like I've always done that as well because I've had to. A lot of times I haven't had someone cheering me on. And that wouldn't change whether I was unwell or not. Like when I won that book competition, for example, even though that was a stage of life when I was already unwell, I've had a lot of accomplishments that I've gone through on my own, and I've had to cheer myself on for that. And so in that respect, I think I always have like celebrated any of my small victories. This is one of the only prom photos I have, and it's me walking with an umbrella. My heart rate was over 200. There was no one to see me off, but I didn't care because I just wanted to make it there, and I was so determined to. And so even though it may be like an unpopular, I was going to say unpopular opinion, is that what I mean? Maybe like an unpopular opinion to think it, but I wouldn't keep my illnesses because I don't think they've changed me that much in a good way. I do think they've made me worse in a lot of ways. And I know like people don't talk about that so much. I do think my illnesses have made me worse in a lot of ways because sometimes I'm feeling so sick that I can't speak to people, so I'm like less sociable. Even though mentally I want to, I physically can't. But yeah, I think the main thing it comes down to for me, the reason that I wouldn't keep my illnesses is just because the amount of suffering I go through with these illnesses is just too great for me to keep them for any reason. Like I probably wouldn't. I also had in my notes this screenshot. It was from a group I'm in. Someone with an illness that I have passed away, and someone shared this message that really stuck with me. They said, I was one of the very few people who knew what she suffered. Just getting through a day of that level of suffering would be too much for most. When I was trying to help her, I found out just how hounded by social services she was. For forms she was simply too ill to fill in. The threats of stopping the care she needed depended on was despicable. I will never forgive those people I tried so hard to educate, nor will I ever forget anyone who doubted what she was suffering and added to the hell she was going through. It is unbelievable that this still goes on. And I just thought, that really resonates with my experience of what I go through. Like I've spent the whole of this year in so many medical appointments. Like I'm even in the middle of medical testing right now. That's what that is. It's just consumes my life. Like I'm at the level where I don't get to do many fun things at all. I don't get to see many people. I do have a very like amazing group of friends online who I can keep in contact with, who we talk regularly. But in terms of physically seeing people, that doesn't happen too often. Doing things for fun, I don't get to do too often, and that is putting it lightly. I do feel, as this person has said, it is just like just hounded with the medical bad stuff all the time. And I've said to a lot of my friends, I feel like I'm waiting for the day when this all slows down and a lot of things that needed to be done are done. But realistically, I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. I don't know if I ever will be at a point where the medical appointments, the social services, the stuff to do with care slows down. Like I don't know if I ever will reach that point. And if I was more well, I would be doing more fun things. I would be seeing my family more. Like it's at the point where for the past few years I've had to choose between having clean clothes and seeing my grandparents, who I don't know how long they're going to be here for, and I can't always choose to see my grandparents and have clean clothes, or for example bringing in the food deliveries. It's one or the other. There's so many things I have to do in a day which are the only thing I can do, and then they wipe me out for so long afterwards. I have repeatedly had to choose not seeing my grandparents for the past couple of years, and if I wasn't unwell, I would have had time and memories and stuff with my grandparents that this illness has taken from me. So in short, would I keep my illnesses because they made me who I am? Absolutely not. If that version of me who's not unwell is a little bit worse of a person, that's okay, I'll take it. Beggars cannot be choosers. I'll have her. It's fine. And I kind of think, maybe she would meet someone who's like unwell and she can learn her lesson through someone else. Oh my gosh. As I say, I know this is a really it makes me feel really nasty actually saying these things, but I know that like the noble thing to say would be like, yeah, I take them because even if it makes me not 5% of a better person, of course I would do it. Whereas for me, no, I wouldn't. But as I say, this is all hypothetical, not something I actually can change. And so in my daily life, this isn't something I think about. And instead, I focus on how happy I am to have the friends that I do have, how grateful I am for all of the good things that have come from this illness. And yeah, that's the thing. I think it's like, it's okay to think about this question once, but it's not a question that I dwell on because I inherently know the answer. I can't change the outcome anyway. In the here and now, I just focus on all the things I am grateful for and the people I'm grateful for to have met through all of this. And maybe that's a good way to end it. I'm thinking about doing a montage. Maybe we should do a montage, I'm not sure, we'll see.